Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com. Decades in jail for a man convicted of drug dealing. How many years he'll be away? Victoria selects the first Civil Service Commission after November's election. Who made the cut? And a local financial group gives some tips for the new year.
We, of course, have 1 or 2 more days of this very warm weather, but things will be changing, folks. Get a load of this. That is the big storm that's dipping down, pulling up all that moisture, and that's going to be going on top of us. And we're finally going to feel like January around here. We'll have all that coming up in a moment.
And we have a big football and track signing for Victoria East High School. Find out who that is later on. Sport.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker. Shauna Curry is off tonight. Tonight, the Victoria City Council confirmed their 3 selections for the Civil Service Board, responsible for personnel policies in the Victoria Fire Department. Casey Cullen was selected for the 1-year term with over 15+ years of experience in law. Decatur Joseph was selected for the 2-year term, serving over 30 years in Victoria as a financial consultant. Lee Keeling was selected for the 3-year term, serving over 35 years as an attorney and even serving on the grievance committee for the state bar. He says the board's experience with law and finance should be a benefit to the community.
It's important, I think, as a citizen of Victoria, that we get off on the right foot. And since designing the set of rules that will be applicable, to initially start, that those are probably subject to change over time, but really want the city to get off on the right foot with with rules that we can hopefully that will last and be durable.
Each appointee spent multiple years with the Sales Tax Development Corporation. City Manager Jesus Garza says they were only applicants who matched each one of his preferred requirements as the city looks to establish the new rules and functions of the board moving forward. A Lawaka County drug dealer is sentenced on 6 controlled substance charges. Marcus Harper pleaded guilty to the charges Monday. The sentences for each charge will run concurrently, with the longest being 25 years. Authorities say Harper was arrested following a long-term investigation that resulted in multiple narcotic seizures. Several charges included enhancements for being carried out in designated drug-free zones, meaning he'll have to serve 5 years before he's eligible for parole. Nearly 4 years after a deadly shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, a former school police officer is standing trial. Adrian Gonzalez was the first officer to arrive at the school where ultimately 19 students and 2 teachers were killed. He's facing 29 counts of child endangerment or abandonment. Lee Waldman brings us the latest from the courtroom.
Count 7 is for the child Layla Marie Salazar.
As the names of the 19 Robb Elementary 4th graders who were killed in May 2022 and their 10 surviving classmates were read in a Nueces County courtroom, defendant Adrian Gonzalez stood facing the jury. The former Uvalde CISD school police officer is facing 29 counts of child endangerment or abandonment, accused for his failure to stop a gunman who ultimately killed 21 people. He has pleaded not guilty.
The children in 111 and 112 are done as they're trained. In the dark, lights off, be quiet, hide, and wait for Adrian Gonzalez.
More than 370 officers stood in the hallway for 77 minutes while the shooter went between adjoining classrooms. Gonzalez was the first to arrive. The indictment read to the jury explains Gonzalez had been advised of the shooter's general location and that he had time to respond, but did not before the gunman got inside the classrooms. His defense team acknowledged the horror of what happened during the final week of the school year, but said the sole responsibility lay with the gunman and painted a picture of a chaotic scene.
It's awful. But Adrian Gonzalez did the best he could with what he knew at the time.
Members of some of the victims' families sat in the gallery, wiping away tears as the first witness by the prosecution was called, and graphic, emotional 911 calls were played. I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
If convicted, Gonzalez could face 6 months to 2 years in jail and a fine of up to $10,000 for each count. Time to check on our weather. Let's go to Mac Pettis with the shocking 7-day forecast. We're in the 80s in January and we're getting more
Well, maybe 2 or 3 more, but then there's a big change as we get to the weekend, and that's my big story. The other big story that we have is fog. Fog will be a big problem within the next couple of hours. It'll start forming, and it'll be soupy weather for the early part of the day. So if you're driving early, just consider that part of your morning drive. We'll be talking about how changing temperatures are finally arriving here. We'll have all that coming up in just a moment. Diane, back to you.
Mike, thank you. President Trump says Venezuela is set to turn over millions of barrels of oil to the United States. The president writing on his Truth Social platform this evening that, quote, the interim authorities in Venezuela will be turning over between 30 and 50 million barrels of high-quality sanctioned oil to the United States of America, unquote. President Trump says the oil will be taken by storage ships and unloaded at U.S. docks. He says Energy Secretary Chris Wright will execute the plan immediately. The suspect in last month's mass shooting at Brown University and fatal shooting of an MIT professor confessed to the attacks. The U.S. District Attorney's Office in Massachusetts released transcripts Tuesday of 4 videos recorded by suspect Claudio Neves Valente after the deadly December shootings. In the transcripts, Valente did not offer a motive or apologize for the attacks. 2 students died in the attack at Brown, and the MIT professor was fatally shot at his home near Boston. The 48-year-old Valente took his own life days after the shooting. Authorities say the federal investigation into Valente's motives will continue. If you see news happening, call our newsroom at 361-576-0026 or send us an email at staff@crossroadstoday.com. Automakers are signaling prices could go up and sales could go down this year. In a release out Monday, General Motors says its sales fell 7% in the fourth quarter of 2025. That's despite being up 6% for the full year. Honda and Hyundai also report Q4 slumps. Toyota is an outlier with an 8% increase during the final quarter, but it warns prices could rise this year. Automakers are grappling with new tariffs and consumer worries about inflation. As the new year kicks off, one local financial group says now's the perfect time to take a closer look at where your money is really going. 25 News Now reporter Ray Mosley spoke with an advisor, and he tells us what he learned.
President of Road Financial Group, Michelle Road, has been in the Victoria area for more than 10 years and encourages people to keep track of their spending, whether that means to spend less in certain areas or just simply earn more by creating a budget.
We're honored to be able to serve people in this way, to change lives. And I would say my advice to people is to not get too bogged down overthinking it or getting overwhelmed. Reach out for help, whether it's me as a financial advisor or somebody else you get along with.
Road urges people to assess where they want to be financially, look at their credit score, and set a goal on how much they'd like to save.
From personal experience, one thing that's really sad is when people walk in here and they're tired, they're ready to slow down and not work as much anymore in retirement age, maybe 65 years old, and they haven't saved anything for retirement.
Road Financial Group helps people take a closer look at their total expenses so they're able to save more for their future. Ray Mosley, KAVU TV, 25 News Now.
And she encourages people to have an attorney that can help you track your spending. Rainbow trout fishing opens at the Riverside Park Duck Pond. Texas Parks and Wildlife stocked the duck pond with 850 rainbow trout. An additional 850 trout will be added to the pond in February. The trout are provided at no cost to the city. Only pole and line fishing is permitted. There is no size limit for any of the fish currently in the duck pond. Anglers may keep no more than 5 fish per day. A fishing license is required for all anglers 17 or older and for adults accompanying an angler under 17. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Then you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, a national broadcasting service is set to shut down, what led to its indefinite closing. And today marks the 5th year since the U.S. Capitol riots. An update on some of the people convicted and pardoned. That's next. As 2025 came to a close, so did the Affordable Care Act's enhanced premium subsidies. While the House is expected to vote sometime this month on a Democrat proposal to extend them for 3 years, the effort faces significant hurdles in the Senate. Ivan Rodriguez breaks down what you need to know.
Extending the Affordable Care Act's enhanced premium subsidies has been at the center of several battles on Capitol Hill in recent months. Now that they've expired, millions of Americans will have to make an important healthcare and financial decision.
As of January 1st, millions of people saw that their premium payments are going up. Some of them may have already dropped their coverage. Other people may have tried to switch from, say a silver or gold plan to a bronze plan, which would have a much higher deductible, but might keep their premium low enough that they could afford to stay insured.
Enhanced subsidies made Obamacare coverage much more affordable, which helped draw a record 24.3 million people to sign up for 2025 policies. Cynthia Cox is a senior vice president for KFF, a nonpartisan health policy research group. She says enhanced premium tax credits allowed lower-income Americans to enroll in policies with $0 or near $0 monthly premiums, while those in the middle class became eligible for help for the first time. Cox says 4 out of 5 consumers were able to find 2025 plans for $10 or less a month.
Starting January 1st, lower income people have to pay 2 to 4% of their income. Higher income people might have no cap on how much they have to spend. They might have to pay full price, which could be 20, 30% of their income.
Open enrollment ends January 15th in most states, meaning there's still time for people to shop for coverage before being automatically renewed into their same plan. I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
The Trump administration is freezing more benefits for low-income families in 5 Democrat-led states. The freeze applies to about $7 billion for temporary assistance for needy families, also known as welfare. It also affects more than $2 billion for the Child Care Development Fund and millions for the Social Services Block Grant. The affected states are California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York. HHS accuses them of widespread fraud, but no evidence appears to support that claim. Reportedly, federal child care funding is already frozen for Minnesota amid investigations into centers that have received the benefit. More on that. The Trump administration planning to audit all of Minnesota's Medicaid bills. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Mehmet Oz said a letter was sent to outgoing Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. It notified Walz that Minnesota's Medicaid bills will face an audit. This comes as a federal investigation is underway tied to a welfare fraud scandal in the state. Oz said all Medicaid bills are under audit. That's to include a specific focus on 14 programs that Oz said the Walz administration admitted have problems. It's been 2 years since a mid-air emergency forced an Alaska Airlines flight to make an emergency landing. Now, the pilot who safely brought the plane back to the ground is suing Boeing. The pilot accuses the company of damage to his reputation by blaming him for the incident. As Maddie White reports, he's seeking millions in damages.
And I was thinking that we're going to die. I was thinking that the plane is going to crash.
Passengers recalled oxygen masks falling and a flight crew scrambling to land safely and quickly, despite a gaping hole in the plane.
Just this huge bang happened and like a white cloud went through the plane. It kind of looked like fire extinguisher, like powder almost. And I was immediately like, what is going on?
A so-called door plug had blown out in row 26, prompting an emergency landing.
People could have died. Like it's really scary.
All 171 passengers and crew survived, but instead of lauding him as a hero, the pilot, Captain Brandon Fisher, says Boeing initially blamed him. When passengers filed a class action lawsuit in March of 2024, Boeing denied liability, saying its products were, quote, improperly maintained or misused by persons and or entities other than Boeing. Now, the pilot is suing Boeing. His lawsuit reading, quote, this accusation, despite its lacking any semblance of truth, only heightened the emotional impact and distress experienced by Captain Fisher. The lawsuit adds it was clear Boeing's words were directed at Captain Fisher in an attempt to paint him as the scapegoat for Boeing's numerous failures. Instead of praising Captain Fisher's bravery, the suit reads, Boeing inexplicably impugned the reputations of the pilots. Fisher's lawsuit asks for at least $10 million in damages. Boeing responded to King 5's request for an interview, writing, quote, "We will not comment on pending litigation." Boeing said in June it would continue to implement improvements and that they regret this accident.
All lawsuits tied to the incident remain active and pending. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is closing its doors. Monday, the CBP's board of directors announced it voted in favor of dissolving the organization following Congress's decision to end its federal financial backing. CPB officials considered placing itself in hibernation just in case Congress decided to restore its appropriations. But that move was rejected, according to the CPB's president and CEO, who said doing so would create, quote, political manipulation or misuse, unquote. CPB made its debut in 1968 and funded PBS, NPR, and hundreds of radio and TV stations across the nation over the decades. To get more news, weather, and sports, come to our website, crossroadstoday.com. The DOJ still has a mountain of Jeffrey Epstein material to review. More than 12,000 documents have already been released, but over 2 million others remain under the microscope. The DOJ was expected to release everything on the convicted sex offender by December under a law passed by most of Congress late last year. Officials now say they need more time to sort through papers, photos, videos, and audio files stored in the FBI system. Epstein was found dead in his prison cell in 2019. It is the 5-year anniversary of the attack at the Capitol, and the White House is now accusing Capitol Police of escalating tensions, in their words, that day. The Trump administration claims the deadly attack was nothing more than a peaceful protest. ABC's Perry Russum is in Washington.
On the 5th anniversary of the deadly attack at the Capitol, the Trump administration is attempting to rewrite history. A new page on the White House's official website mischaracterizes some of the day's events, from alleging protester Ashley Babbitt was murdered in cold blood and posed no threat trying to climb through a barricaded door, to accusing the Capitol Police of escalating tensions. Winston P. Jones is a former U.S. Capitol police officer.
5 years ago today, I was called a traitor, violently assaulted in the line of duty, punched in the face, pepper sprayed, and thought, I'm going to die here on the steps of the U.S. Capitol.
House Democrats today holding unofficial hearings they say sets the record straight. On Trump's first day back in office, he issued sweeping pardons and commutations for more than 1,500 January 6 defendants.
You refused Donald Trump's pardon. Why?
Because it was a lie. January 6 was an insurrection.
After storming the Capitol, Pam Hemphill pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge and was sentenced to 60 days in prison.
I am guilty. And I own that guilt.
Former leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, was pardoned by Trump after being convicted of seditious conspiracy. He called for a peaceful march today in memory of Ashley Babbitt, who was shot and killed by police inside the Capitol.
A year ago, exactly a year ago, many of us were sitting in a jail cell trying to figure out if we were going to get pardoned or not. We did trust the president, but, when you're in there, you have to think about it.
During that demonstration, dozens of people marched to the Capitol pushing conspiracy theories about what happened 5 years ago. They were met by counter-protesters. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
The White House said Tuesday that President Trump is discussing a range of options to acquire Greenland, and using the U.S. military to do it is not off the table. The statement from the White House press secretary notes the president has made it clear that acquiring Greenland is a national security priority for the U.S. Greenland is a self-governing territory of Denmark, a fellow NATO nation. Greenland said Tuesday it asked for a meeting with Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Today, a winter storm impacted Hawaii, resulting in snowfall at the summit of Mauna Loa, the largest active volcano on Earth. The storm brought major snow to the summit, coating the roads and creating hazardous driving conditions. The National Weather Service issued a winter storm warning for the Big Island summits, forecasting 5 to 10 inches of snow and strong winds. This rare occurrence is typical for Mauna Loa, which can experience snowfall due to its high elevation and the moisture-laden winds from the Pacific Ocean. Snow in Hawaii?
Yeah, people stop to remember that the peak of Mauna Loa is up at 13,000 feet. So that's, pretty far up in the atmosphere. Of course, down at the beach, the snow doesn't get there, but at the top mountaintops it does. And I've seen this happen before, and it's a good sign because that cold, unstable air in the Pacific is going to be moving back to the United States and bringing us back the winter that we've been missing. It's 64 degrees right about now. Humidity is very high. We're going to have another morning of thick fog. We managed to get up to 80 today, 62 the overnight low. 80 is not normal. By the time we get to the weekend, though, temperatures will be a lot closer to normal. Coming up, we'll be talking about all that coming up in a moment. Well, good evening, everybody. Another warm day today and another warm day tomorrow, but it's not forever. It's finally going to be changing back to what we normally expect in January. It is the dead of winter, you know. Tonight, we're going to be looking at a lot of fog. Now, for those of you driving early, if you had problems this morning, you're going to have problems tomorrow morning. So it's going to be very soupy out there and very warm. Now, what we're looking at is out here. This is the big storm that's dropping down off the west coast. The high pressure that was over us has finally gone down. So this system is going to drop down, pick up all this Pacific moisture and stream it up over the desert southwest. This is going to start raining in Arizona by tomorrow, and then New Mexico by Thursday, and then Friday it gets into Texas as well. And I wanted to show you this big picture because, okay, let's see, from Los Angeles to Hawaii, it's 2,000 miles, okay? So that's a good way. And in those islands, the volcanoes are very tall. We, think of sandy beaches, but these are 13 feet above sea level, so they're up in the atmosphere. And you can see how the winds are now coming around, cold air coming down this way and then rolling into the islands. But of course, the most important part of this map is this, which is going to be changing our weather very soon. Now, down here we have this low, that's called a cutoff low because it's cut off from the mainstream. Here is the mainstream, and you can see how these storms are moving much more rapidly across North America. This is storm after storm after storm. That is typical, but so far the jet stream has been too far north, really, to bring down any cold air. This is not going to be a super cold storm, but it is going to be a return of the pattern that brings us some cooler January-like air to our area. Tonight, we probably are going to be getting half-mile visibilities. So those of you driving around, do be cautious early in the morning, especially around the school zones. If you're driving north or south, you're going to run into that fog pretty much the entire crossroads. Next 5 days, rainfall. We go from Wednesday on to Thursday. You can see how it rolls into New Mexico. Then on into Thursday, it's into North Texas as the first frontal system comes through, and it starts including our area with a little bit of moisture. None of this is going to be significant downpours. This is going to be a light winter rain generally from a light mist to a steady rainfall. So this is not a severe thunderstorm kind of situation, but you can see right about here as we get into Friday, when that frontal system passes through, we do have a shot at getting some shower activity Friday night into Saturday morning. And then on Saturday, we're going to see a strong north wind blow through the area, and that is going to bring our temperatures back to January levels. Now here is today, tomorrow, 82, and then 80 on Friday, and then wow, okay, a good 20-degree drop in temperatures, and the overnights will get down into the upper 30s to near 40 degrees. So yes, all of a sudden it looks like winter is returning back to the crossroads. It's going to feel like that for at least a week. So, you know, it's not a 2-day wonder. This is a 3-day wonder maybe. Looking for a 78 tomorrow, fog and low clouds early. In Cuero, fog and low clouds early, and then afternoon 81. It's going to feel like summer here for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then it's Saturday when the north wind blows in and it's going to get chilly again. We haven't seen this in over a month. Can you believe it? That's your 7-day forecast. Reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. And we'll toss it over to Maxwell with sports.
That's right, Mac. Tonight we had some great girls and boys basketball games across the Crossroads. We'll highlight some of tonight's biggest games that we kind of highlighted later in sport. Last week we had another big signing. Victoria East football and track star Isaiah Taylor announced his commitment to St. Thomas Aquinas College out in New York. And last year for Thomas on the football field, he had 35 total tackles with 25 solo tackles out of those 35. And on the track though, he competes in the 100, 200, 400, long jump and triple jump. So there's a lot of events there in the sprinting and kind of jump categories. So with that success on the football field and on the track, he's excited to play both sports at the next level and really wants to do his best.
I'm excited to do both, really. For the football, playing safety, really. Just locking down receivers and everything. And for track, I'm really ready for long jump and triple.
Taylor hopes to make a name for himself in both sports, and he's proud of his time there at East and ready to kind of pursue his dreams to play collegiate football and track at the next level. Now we're staying with Victoria East, but going over to the hardwood with Titans girls basketball battling the Terry Rangers in district play tonight. And the Titans started off hot in the first half, and they would never look back. They would win this game in convinced battle by 15 points. And Avery Valentine and Kayla Mathis both had 12 points each to help propel the Titans to get the victory. And also after the game, they celebrated Avery Valentine becoming Victoria East's all-time leading scorer in East history. So props up there to Avery Valentine. And afterwards, I had a chance to get a word from their head coach, Yolanda North, about how it feels for Valentine to achieve this record.
She's not afraid to take the big shot. And so there have been countless times that this kid has hit the shot to put us in overtime in the playoffs and different things like that. So, I mean, she's not afraid of the challenge.
Now, Northland Titans, they now get to go be 4-1 in district, and they're going to face Fort Bend Marshall on the road this Friday night, and it'll be at 6:30 p.m. We go over to 3A girls basketball where the Palacios Sharks, they traveled to face the Edna Cowgirls, the ranked Edna Cowgirls team. And for Edna, they controlled this game from the beginning. They won this one 53-32, and they are officially now 2-2 in district, with Palacios also at 2-2 overall. Now, Edna travels to Rice Consolidated this Friday night at 6:30 p.m., while Palacios, they will host Columbus there this Friday Saturday at 6:15 p.m. Over to high school boys basketball with the Tidehaven Tigers undefeated heading into this game, facing the Industrial Cobras. And this game was very low scoring, but the Cobras would get the victory at home 40-35. They go 2-0 in district while Tidehaven loses their first one in district play. The Cobras' next opponent will be at Yoakum their Friday night at 7:30 p.m. while Tidehaven will travel out to Hallettsville Friday night at 7:30. And finally, Victoria Cobras face the ranked Faith Academy boys basketball team there in the TAPS division, and the Cougars, again, just like Victoria East girls basketball did, they controlled this one from the third quarter on to beat the Cobras there 80-44. Zach McKnight led the way with 24 points and 6 3-pointers in the victory, and then Jaden Valdez had 19 points, and then the Cougars, again, 19-5 overall. They're going to host Victoria Gators. That'll be Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. And we just got a final score with the Houston Cougars getting a big-time win, a ranked win over Texas Tech, 68-62. Shout out there to their freshman Don Kinston Flemings. I mean, this kid does not seem to be rattled at all. I mean, 23 points there, I believe 23, 24 points in the game. So props up there to Houston. A big-time victory for the Cougs tonight there, Don.
Thank you very much, Max. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, we'll take a last look at your weather. Which airlines kept you on time in 2025? Find out after the break.
Tonight, we look back on January 6th.
The January 6th 5th anniversary commemorative plate set. Order now, and just like these heroes, you'll receive a full presidential pardon.
An aviation analytics firm is crowning the world's best and most on-time airports and airlines. Delta takes the punctuality award in the U.S. Aero Mexico wins it worldwide. Cirium says Istanbul Airport is the platinum winner in the company's 2025 on-time performance review. It says the facility's punctuality is about 80%. That's not the top number, but the award takes into account overall operational performance and recovery capability. Qatar Airways is Cirium's platinum winner in the airline category. I am surrounded by two people who are always on time.
Yeah.
So this blends in perfectly to that. And you know, it's kind of really not on time to have 80-degree temperatures in January.
Wow, it is.
We're way past our limit.
Yeah, way past the time.
We're gonna flunk this test. But yes, at least as we get to the weekend, it's gonna start getting chilly again. I do believe you'll be looking for a jacket on Saturday morning. As you head out the door, the wind is gonna hit you as a cold north wind blows in. And then at least for about 5, maybe even 7 days, we're gonna be in a January pattern where it's actually going to be on the chilly side. Daytimes barely 60 and nighttimes getting down to about 40, maybe even 38, 30 there. So yes, cold finally returning back to the crossroads.
But we should kind of expect it. It is still January. It will be for another 24, 25 days. You know?
Exactly.
All right, thank you, Mac. Thanks for joining us. Join 25 News Sunrise at 5 a.m. Jimmy Kimmel Live starts now.